This is Joy News, your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Welcome to Joy News Prime with me, Emefa Apawu. In our headlines, IMF talks to delay presentation of 2023 budget as Majority Leader reviews the statutory time of 15th November to present the budget statement may not be met.
Discussions that are going on now involving the IMF, I think is going to take a little bit of a while. So I believe it's going to be quite difficult to submit to the 15th deadline.
And the hardship brought about by the escalating fuel prices being felt in higher places. In this bulletin, we hear from Adansia Sokwa MP Katie Hammond, who nearly fought with a fuel station attendant because he thought he was being cheated.
Tell you something horrific. A few days ago, I went to the garage, pumped the fuel into the car, and the bloke came up and gave me a bill. It was almost a third world war at the garage, at the station. Why is he giving me this? It's particularly difficult.
We have details as the MP faults OMCs and BDCs, who he says are chasing astronomical profits.
I am concerned that some companies, the oil marketing companies, are making unnecessary profits.
But should government remove some taxes and margins on the fuel price build-up?
I was surprised because I was hyped out. You know, come on, I'm going to reduce this, get this and that. Katie, have you looked at it and said, well, not recently, yes. Those days when we were doing the calculations, it was quite significant.
We have details of that. Also at the top of the hour 8, we have Prime Business with Pius Dubaka.
Economist urges government to focus on agriculture as the U.S. Central Bank increases its key lending rate to 3.72%.
The government must be intentional in making sure that some agricultural products are exported out of the country and not agricultural products per se, be able to strengthen our manufacturing processes.
And Prime Sports follows closely with Musbao.
Former Black Stars coach CK Akono has backed Ghana to go beyond the group stage at this year's FIFA World Cup in Qatar.
I strongly believe that they will come out good.
Portugal, Uruguay, South Korea, we can qualify beyond the group?
Yes, we can qualify.
If we do the right thing?
Yes, we do the right thing. We will do the right thing.
Details on these stories and more here on Joy News Prime Live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. We are also on myjoyonline.com and all social media platforms. Please stay for details. Thanks for staying with us. Let's dig in now. And as both petrol and diesel also 160 and 250% above January prices, there have been calls for government to cushion consumers. Now, this reflected in the just released Global Info Analytics report, where respondents are calling on government to either subsidize fuel prices or reduce taxes on the price buildup. Is the time ideal for government to cushion consumers with funds raised from the price stabilization and recovery levy? My colleague Isaac Kofieje is a data analyst with Joy Research Desk. He joins me in studio with details of the amount from the levy accrued so far. Kofi, let's talk about the data, what it says.
Well, Emefa, this is the price stabilization and recovery levy. This is the levy that we have to fall on when times are hard or when fuel prices keep going up. So the purpose of this levy is to help, as a buffer for under recoveries in the petroleum sector and also to stabilize petroleum prices for consumers. Now, what are other countries doing? If you go to the US, for instance, government is about to release about $13 billion to help houses for heating alone. And then $9 billion of this money will be used to, cushion consumers and households just because of inflation. If you go to Uganda, for instance, the Ugandan government is spending about 100 billion shillings just to make sure fuel prices are down. Togo, for instance, government is spending $200 million every month to make sure fuel prices and food items are also down. When you come to Ghana, this is the time that we probably would have to fall on the price stabilization and recovery levy. So look at this figure. The entire year, 2022, government projected to raise an amount of 816 million Ghana cedis from the price stabilization and recovery levy. We've paid this money. Every liter of fuel you buy, you pay price stabilization and recovery levy. Now look at this, Emefa. Just first and second quarter of 2022, we've been able to raise 798 million Ghana cedis from the price stabilization and recovery levy. So the question be now put, if you look at 860 million and 798 million, it means we are actually doing what we've raised more than we even expected to raise for the first and second quarter of 2022. So where is this money? We've been collecting this money, for a very long time. From 2016 to 2020, look at the amount we've collected so far, from 338 million to 345 million to 142 million. All these monies we've been collecting from the taxes that we've been paying every time we buy fuel at the pumps, so that in times like this, we can be cushioned. Now, I want to show you this information from the Global Info Analytics, survey that was done. And an important question was asked about how government should help, solve the current economic situation. And this is it, Emefa.
Okay.
This was a simple question. If you were to tell the government one thing that they can do to help with the current crisis, which of the following would you want them to address urgently? Now, 35% of them said they want government to stabilize the cedi against the dollar. Very important. And then also reduce taxes on fuel, 27%. 34% also believe that government should stabilize prices of goods and services. 4% want other things. Now, anytime you buy fuel, you pay as high as close to 3 cedis per every liter that you buy at the pumps, just because of tax and other margins. Okay. Now, Ghanaians are calling for subsidy. Is this the right time that government has to give us the monies from the price stabilization and recovery levy? This is a very big question that consumers are asking.
So it looks like it's not just the minority that is calling for the subsidies to be paid, or for government to take up these subsidies. We are now hearing from ordinary Ghanaians also per this particular survey that has been put together. Isaac Kofi, as always, thank you so much for being a part of it. And I know that you bring us more data subsequently. Now, artisans in the Swami Industrial Enclave are backing calls for the majority in Parliament to sack Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Legislators on the majority side of Parliament, headed by MP for Asante Achim North, Andy Apiakobi, impressed on the President to relieve the Finance Minister of duty or risk losing their support for government business. Some way, somehow, that did not happen. But we've been interacting with the artisans, and this is what they have to say.
At least 85 members of the majority caucus in Parliament are demanding the sack of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and the Minister of State Charles Edubwahi. The unanimous decision comes on the back of the high cost of living experienced by the Ghanaian citizenry. The legislators say their call is cemented by the outcry of their constituents who are reeling from the impact of the sinking economic situation. At the Swami constituency, a section of artisans in the industrial enclave supports the call. They should sack him. Times are hard now. We are really suffering here at Swami.
You say you were saying 6 years. Aye. Now, Nimane Kosono, and years, I was a winning flu. Oh, ball for as a sports minister.
It's been 6 years now since he took office, but things aren't going as expected, so he has to be sacked.
So when you're the way you know, no be able to show. Go be na kaya, go be na free. We are saying, say nipa do do nyina hia. Ne yi nipa ba ko say, yaduma ye nyina wo hwe sika so maye. Na say afa de sika sem no enko ya. Say wo na wo hwe sika no so na ye busa wo hu bibi.
If you have been assigned to look after our finances and it appears things aren't going on well, you have to be sacked.
And Sankuransa, Ansania Becassia Bepamu, the Venus Yamanasa Crania Cofabu. They say, Oman, any woman in Na Esu, say Oman in Kui. So, Lamun, Oman, Japadia Monsano, because Mobama say, Oman Yatisikasu, and so come. edien na mo ba be ye am yen say o man sika wom na say mo ba ya mo de kura.
Then however, President Akufo-Addo, in response to the demand, requested that the finance minister be pardoned for the time being, as he is currently leading the country in the IMF negotiations. The constituents disagree, citing the performance of the minister in managing Ghana's economy in the present fiscal year. Transport fares have increased.
No, but I know 2 cedi. This year, 4 cedi.
Say, shopping, no. I didn't 2 million. Last Wednesday.
That's my shop. I imported some spare parts 2 weeks ago. They used to sell at 200 Ghana cedis, but I cannot sell them at the same price now. A number of Ghanaians are hoping the president will heed their calls to usher in a new finance minister.
Oh, minister, no, I hope so. What be you be? You beat my abo man and why no. The Emirates says so calling powerful, but you have fresh ideas. Because your man do you have fresh ideas at least.
The minister has done his part. We need fresh ideas to manage the economy now. We need a new finance minister.
Adebechibia ya tufuemu. Adebechibia no, ya tukeskem. They say living of standard of living, I am very high. Oh, there many time uncle, and you say you need Ubia or uncle.
For Joy News, Emmanuel Kweku reporting.
Well, the ordinary Ghanaian is not alone in this. It appears people in high places are also feeling the pinch of escalating fuel prices. Diesel is currently selling for more than 23 cedis, whilst petrol is hovering around 18 cedis per litre. Speaking to Joy News, Adansia Sokwa MP Katie Hammond revealed he nearly fought with a fuel attendant when he went to purchase fuel, and the price had almost doubled. He, however, says Ghanaians are better off because we are not in queues to get fuel.
It's difficult now. My understanding is that all these things have been factored into the pricing formula now. And yes, we still find ourselves where we are now. Tell you something horrific. A few days ago, I went to the garage, pumped the fuel into the car, and the bloke came up and gave me a bill. It was almost a third world war at the garage, at the station. Why is he giving me this? He said, yes, yesterday, the price of diesel, the price of super moved to what the price of diesel used to be. Diesel is now 20 whatever. I was about complaining to a colleague in the profession a day after, and he said to me, don't worry about that. It's going to go to 23 this evening. And it's a particularly difficult situation. What is it that led to this? What is to be done? It's a difficult situation. And nobody, I don't particularly envy the lot of those who are really having to juggle. What do we do? Is the what do you call it? Is that the elephant in the room? It's the elephant in the room. Normally you don't mention it, but we are mentioning it. So I'm not sure what really is the elephant. But it's a difficult thing. It's not a situation peculiar to only Ghana. It's all over the place. The advanced economies and also advanced economies in Britain keep on whenever these issues come up. Obvious point of reference of Britain. America, a point in time, fuel prices were lower than the prices of water. I mean, well, now they're also suffering. It's particularly difficult. I mean, you heard about a situation in what's the name, Sri Lanka, and the redeeming situation for those of us in Ghana is that at least we are not in long queues. Producing country in Nigeria and those countries around the area, they are in some sort of queues. We are not.
He adds that the current price hike is primarily due to oil marketing companies and BDCs chasing astronomical profit, although he does not rule out the poor performance of the cedi as a factor.
The bulk of the issue lies with the BDCs and then the OMCs. There's a crunch, a dollar crunch in the economy. Two cataclysmic situations that have bedeviled the world, the globe, not only Ghana, have contributed in no small measure to the problems that we have. Ukraine, Russian crisis, and obviously the pandemic. So, you talk about reduced taxes. We'll deal with the main crux of it. I made a point. It's the oil marketing companies, the big ones, the BDCs. Okay, and I have a problem, and so they better sort it out. Now, well, they got the dollar at whatever rate, whatever it is. So somebody should pay for it. You get a point. This is the difficulty. So 3 days ago, they would have said that the dollar was 13, was 12 or something, so we bought it like this. Today, the dollar is gone to 14, whatever. So quickly, they do the multiples. It doesn't matter that they had actually brought the crude or the product back into the country previously. I am concerned that some companies, the oil marketing companies, are making unnecessary profits. I think we should be careful how they are also playing the market. We are in this together. It's not MPP, government, and whatever it is. And I think all the respective individuals, particularly the companies, they must be very careful how this plays out.
Well, Katie Hammond is a member of the Mines and Energy Committee, and he says he's aware there are serious governmental efforts underway to ease the pressure in the system and is completely against removing taxes and other margins on the fuel price build-up.
Have you checked? I was condescended with rage the other time because I remember some time back when we were working distance and then the percentage was close to about 40, 50, whatever, particularly when I was ranking and we were making all the noise and this. So I was calling for all this reaction that you are talking about. A few days ago, a month ago, I called for, I haven't been following all the calculations the last few, whatever. So I called for it. And I looked at it and I was petrified. Check it. Somebody drummed it into your ears that the taxes, the prices, and whatever. Go and check. I won't give you the details. I'll give you some assignment. Go and check. Basically nothing. Basically nothing. I was surprised because I was hyped out. Come on. I'm going to reduce this, get this. Katie, have you looked at it? They say, well, not recently, yes. Those days when we were doing the calculations, it was quite significant. When the last, whatever, check again. President has traveled out of the country many times, has sent emissaries many times out of the country to make sure that in a very short time, we would be able to flood the market with some products, I mean, because listen, you can see from the way I'm making this presentation that I'm not happy with the way the BDCs are going about this situation.
And just in case you were expecting the budget to be read on the 15th of November, I have news for you. Majority Leader Osechi Mensah-Bonsu says the current negotiation with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, would delay that presentation. We know that the Public Financial Management Act mandates that the budget is presented by the 15th of this month, but he's been addressing the media on what happens.
I'm not too sure as I sit here. I still have to have some discussions with Minister responsible for finance to determine exactly when he'll be able to submit the document to us. As you do know, the Public Financial Management Act provides that the budget should be presented to the House latest the 15th of this month. The discussions that are going on now involving the IMF, I think is going to take a little bit of a while. My understanding is that it will go into first few days of next week, around the 10th or so. If that is the case, you then have to strand out the conclusions and factor them into the budget. And after we've succeeded in doing that, because it's a budget for government, it will have to go before cabinet for some discussions, integrations, and maybe additions and subtractions before it comes ultimately to Parliament. So I believe it's going to be quite difficult to submit to the 15th deadline. I don't know. I'm just conjecturing. But if you want to do a tidy work, maybe you require to have some space to be able to do a tidy work. Because as we all do know, these are not normal times, and you want to do a tidy job in order to reposition the country. Nothing should be done which eventually become wishy-washy. We want to have the best to be able to uplift us from where we are as a country. And that being the case, if you want to do a thorough job, I think there'll be too much pressure if it has to be done on the 15th. If it comes after the 15th, let's face it, it will not be in breach of the Constitution. The Constitution provides that the last date of presentation should be the 30th of November. So it will not be in breach, but we ourselves brought it forward to the 15th of November because we want more time to interrogate the principles underpinning the budget. Indeed, Ghana belongs to the IPU, the Inter-Parliamentary Union. And the IPU as a body of parliaments, it is that has taken the position that Parliament should work towards having presentation of budgets for consideration and passage at least 8 weeks before the beginning of the next succeeding financial year. And that is why we said, okay, then let's bring it forward to the 15th of November.
Well, the majority leader, Emefa Apawu, also said the investigation into allegations that a wealthy businessman tried to bribe NPP MPs to back down on their calls for the dismissal of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will focus on unraveling the motives of the said businessman.
It's an attempted bribery case, whether bribery or inducement or whatever. As I stated, yes, it's come to my notice. That issue has come before us. Let me say that it is not the group that started that. That maybe somebody attempted to bribe. I'm saying so because even though the issue started with about 80 plus, the group of 80 plus, the caucus meeting aligned with the position of that group. So it's no longer the cause of the 80 plus group. It's the agenda for the entire caucus. And we'll be having some discussions on that. But with particular reference to the attempted bribery, as I've been informed about that, and as I responded to same matter when I was interviewed by one of your prime stations, I said that it's come before me. We'll investigate if it is true, and if it's true, to establish the motive of that person. That is what I can say of it as of now. Not knowing what the motive is. Sometimes these things come up. You remember the issue of a minister who was nominated to appear before the vetting committee, there was an allegation that he had attempted to bribe some people or influence some people. Eventually, it turned out to be, I wouldn't say falsehood, but an untruth. So even though this one has come before me, not having gone into it, I don't want to make any pronouncement on that. Let's see if indeed it is true. And that is no insult to the intelligence or the integrity of those people who spoke to it. We want to investigate if it is true, what is the motive of the pressing, and then we can make some statement on that. But we're not there yet. We'll see.
This is Joy News Prime. Let's take a quick break, shall we? Still to come, coffin and casket manufacturers at Asafo in Kumasi are lamenting the high cost of raw industrial materials.
With the high increase in materials, our goods and it's affecting patronage.
Many thanks for sticking with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, some victims of the devastating tidal waves in the Volta region are said to be permanently relocated. Residents in the Ketu South municipality in particular were displaced following the tidal waves that swept away their homes. Watch this.
In my house, this is my house. From here to the seashore is about 1,500 meters when I was very young. Yeah, 1,500 meters from the sea when I was very young. But up to this time, you can now see the sea from here is about 30 meters.
Formerly, the town is not here, Fuman community is not here. But through the tidal waves of the sea, that is why we came here. Formerly, we used block to build our houses. But at now, we are using the coconut branches to build our house.
Effective teaching can go on when we combine, let's say, from KG1 to JHS3. We cannot do any effective teaching. So we are only attending to the JHS3 for now.
There were 5 in a boat, and the 4 left earlier. Then he followed later, reaching the seashore where the tidal wave have created another channel joining the River Volta. He's trying to cross over that small channel. At the process of crossing, then he drowned.
Physically, about 20 steps away in the school. Yeah. And that's how close the sea has come to the facility. Now, if you look at what it is, yeah, and we are not able to improve upon it, to lose it, the thought alone makes my heart just shudder. I cringe when I think about it. We must continue this intervention. We have to fix it. And Honorable Asenso came and assured us that it will be done. Yeah. So I don't even want to entertain that thought that because the end of it is exposing the people to what is happening, yeah, then we should fold our arms and throw it up, our hands up in despair.
The Development Authority has also sent engineers for assessment, and they are also ready to replace broken down infrastructure. So in the medium term, that will be done. But the DC has made arrangement for the school children in the meantime. So in the medium term, the buildings, the school block will be rebuilt. But they are worried because this is not the first time they are rebuilding the school block. But I can see that they have a Coastal Development Authority structure that is uncompleted. We work on that to get it route for them as soon as possible.
Well, months down the line, nothing significant seemed to have happened. The regional minister was hauled before Parliament today, and Archibald Letcher revealed that government has secured a service land to permanently resettle the victims. Parliamentary correspondent Kwekwa Sante reports.
Victims of this disaster have been lamenting government neglect, but it appears they may get some permanent relief from government. Volta Regional Minister Archibald Letcher told Parliament the first phase of the resettlement will begin next year.
The Volta Regional Community Council and the Ketu South Municipal Assembly have been working with the relevant state institutions and agencies such as the National Disaster Management Organization and the Ghana Refugee Board to help relocate and resettle all displaced persons of tidal waves in the Ketu South municipality or constituency. The Municipal Assembly has initiated the construction of 15 number 2-bedroom apartments at Salakope to resettle about 150 victims of tidal waves in the municipality. The project is expected to be completed by the end of the second quarter in 2023.
He, however, explained that not all the victims can be relocated in the first phase.
Mr. Speaker, funding, we managed to secure some funding through the lobbying of the Municipal Assembly, and with our good selves, we secured about 2 million cedis to start the first phase of the resettlement program. Mr. Speaker, I admit that the first phase will not be able to accommodate all the displaced victims, because we had about 1,096 displaced individuals, made up of 227 adult males, 287 adult females.
So this matter involving the tidal wave victims in the Volta region, as you may be well aware, became a matter of political footballing between the NPP and the NDC, where the minority accusing government of neglecting the Volta region and the victims of the tidal waves. Indeed, at the time, there were those who said that the tidal waves were due to some sun-winning activities in the region. At the time, government allocated about 10 million Ghana cedis for feasibility studies on the Blekusu Coastal Development Project, which was meant to stem this tide. Indeed, MP for the area, Ablaji Fagomashi, in whose name this question stood, has been on a crusade to get government to act immediately. For Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
We turn our attention to politics now, and about 148 former constituency chairmen of New Patriotic Party from across the country have expressed their displeasure against President Akufo-Addo for allegedly neglecting them. Some of them claim to have sold their properties and spent huge resources to campaign for the party in the 2016 and 2020 elections, but promises of President Akufo-Addo to reward them with various positions have not been honored. Seydou Adams is former chairperson for Sampa constituency.
The former constituency chairman said the NPP has failed to recognize their effort in 2016 and in 2020 general elections. According to them, they supported the party with cash and other logistics from their own coffers. Former chairman for Sampa constituency, Seydou Adams, says most of them are now jobless divorcees because they sold their cars and other properties to support the campaign for Nanado.
As we are telling you right now, some of us, some of the chairmen, our wives, we don't have peace in the house. Because the resources that we were having to be taking care of our family, we used everything 2016, 2020 to campaign for this party. Because of that, some of our wives are not even neglecting us. They don't want to even see us. Right now, we are suffering in the constituencies. If that is what NPP want to treat us, if that is what NPP wants us to be useless in our constituency into our family, then we are also afraid that 2024 we will also neglect them. We will make sure that the party, NPP party, will do all our powers. How we did and brought the party to power, we also do all our powers. The party should go to opposition.
The aggrieved NPP chairman say President Akufo-Addo has failed to heed to their calls and petitions, despite the huge role they played to see him in power. Seydou Adams says the group will show the NPP the exit in the 2024 general elections.
Master, as we are telling you, the businesses that we were having, it has all collapsed. All of us, not even a single chairman. What happened? That can provide that, or you can say, yes, my business is still going on. All of us, our business. Me, for instance, I deal with motorbikes. My business has been collapsed. Some of my colleagues, they also deal with building materials a lot. Their also business has been collapsed.
What happened?
It happens because we use the money to resource the party. Because as a constituency chairman, when you are there, day in, day out, if anybody comes from a community, chairman, my son is not feeling well, so you were not able to provide, it means that you are killing the party at the community level. Because one, he knows very well that the chairman can solve his problem. That is why he came to you.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Ukudenchambo.
Now, the Executive Director of Non-Governmental Organization Community Development Alliance Ghana, Salifu Isifu Kantong, has expressed worry about the maze of school-going age girls who were not at school in the region, which he said has impacted negatively on the development of the region. Over 10,000 girls of school-going age in the region have never been to school at all. He said over the last 2 decades, the poverty numbers of the region remained stagnant. Poor physical development resulting in the region being a stress region. These he attributed to lack of education. Salifu Isifu Kantong made the statement at a stakeholder forum on a 3-year project dubbed Let's Girls Learn and End Child Marriage project in Wa. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service during the commemoration of International Girls' Day peg the number of girls between the ages of 12 and 17 that are already married or living with a man in Ghana at 80,000. 26,000 of these girls are at junior high schools and are between the ages of 12 and 14. The Warren report further revealed that as many as 244,731 girls between the ages of 6 and 12 living in Ghana have never been to school at all. Executive Director of Community Development Alliance, CDA Ghana, Salifu Isifu Kantong, speaking at a stakeholders forum on a 3-year project, Roll Out and Christian Let's Girls Learn and End Child Marriage project, believe that the figures in the Upper West region may not have captured the right picture, citing a recent visit to some 12 communities in 3 districts.
Not less than 11 girls of school-going age that have never been in school can be identified in each of these communities. Given that we have over 1,500 communities in Upper West region, multiply 11 as the average by 1,500 roughly communities, close to about 1,500 communities we have in the region. If we are having an average of 11 girls that have never had a chance at school, how many will we have for Upper West region alone? Then multiply that by the number, the 16 regions. And given that our population is lower, the higher the population, the more likely you are to have more girls out of school. I would say that this 244,731 may be an underestimation. That is just those that have never been to school. But how about the many who have gone, but for some reasons they have dropped out and are not in school?
The project is executed by CDA Ghana with support from Star Ghana Foundation and partnered by the United Kingdom Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. It is their hope that the Let's Girls Learn and End Marriage project will help the participants to re-strategize and work collaboratively to ensure that no girl in the Upper West region of school-going age is left out of school.
An Upper West with a poor education where girls are not part will remain backward. As we have been told already, over the last 2 decades, our region has continued to be among the least developed regions in Ghana. Our poverty numbers remain stagnant. Our physical development remains poor. Collectively, we remain a stressed region. And for me, as a citizen of this region, I can say without any fear of contradiction that the poverty of Upper West is the poverty of lack of education.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, in an address read on his behalf by the Chief Director of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Peter M. Mala, stated that child marriages and teenage pregnancies are the biggest drawbacks to to girls' education in the region.
The Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey report 2019 indicates that 1 in 4 girls in the Upper West region gets married off before attaining the age of 18, and it is more prevalent in the Sisala West, Wa West, and Wa East districts.
The Upper West Regional Director of the Department of Gender, Charity Bature, advised girls to go back to school and also warn parents of the consequences of force or early marriages.
It is criminal. Once you are caught, you are going in. Either the parents of the child or the parents of the man, or will I say the family from the man that is coming to marry, or any other person that seeks to officiate such a marriage, be you an imam, a pastor, whoever you are. Once you partake in that marriage and we get glimpse of you, everybody becomes a culprit and the law will deal with you.
Reporting for BI News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, most hospitals in Ghana do not have support for hearing and speech-impaired people. In most cases, there are no sign language translators on standby to aid the hearing and speech-impaired patients in accessing healthcare. This has prevented many from visiting health facilities because they cannot effectively communicate their ailments to health professionals, and the health professionals cannot also do same. Fortunately, some students from the Computer Science Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology have developed an app called SciTalk, which seeks to solve this problem. We have our Tech Thursday with Chrissy Debra.
SciTalk seeks to solve the problem by being a first step initiative to bring the hearing and speech impaired community back into society by bridging the deeply rooted communication gap. It does this by providing features that allow speech to sign language translation and sign language to speech translation.
Now you realize that in our society here in Ghana, there is a stigmatization of the deaf and the mute community. That's led to the isolation of these people from society in general. Now this as a result of this communication gap that exists between this group and society in general. Mainly because the deaf and the mute community, or deaf and mute people, communicate via sign language, and then the rest of us communicate via speech. Now, most of us really don't know sign language and are not motivated to learn sign language because these people, that's the deaf and the mute, are generally isolated from society. So no one knows any deaf or mute person that they would learn the sign language and communicate with, and therefore they are not motivated to learn it at all. This is the landing page of the SciTalk website, and then it has two main views, the doctor view and the patient view. So when you go, if you're a doctor, you select the doctor button and then it takes you to the doctor view. If you're a patient, you select the patient button and then it takes you to the patient view. So let's start with the doctor. Now the doctor taps on the doctor button and then it takes the doctor to the login page where the doctor has to sign in first before they are allowed to utilize SciTalk. Okay. So I have an account created already, so I just tap on the login. Right. Now, SciTalk has some of the features of, for example, video conferencing apps like Zoom embedded in it. Right. So it demands access to, or demands a device that has a camera to take the video of the person signing, or for the doctor to see the person on their computer. Right. So he has to give access to the camera of the device, so he has to allow it. Once they allow it, the camera feed is displayed on the site. Now this is the doctor view. Now the patient, on the patient page 2, the patient must allow access to their computer's camera, and then they too can see a video feed of themselves, right? Okay. Now to start the translation from sign language to allow that, as part of the protocols of the app, the doctor must start a meeting first. So it's like Zoom, where there's a primary person that starts the meeting and then other people join, right? So because the doctor has signed in, he can create a meeting by tapping on the start meeting button. Once he does that, a meeting ID is generated for the meeting, and then he can copy that and send that to the patients for the patient piece. So we copy this button, this meeting ID. Now on the if the patient wants to join the meeting, they have to enter their name and then the doctor ID. That is the meeting ID that doctor got, right? So we will do that. Let's do an arrangement. Okay. Yes, and then they enter the doctor ID and they select start call, right? Okay. Now, immediately they do the start call, the doctor receives the video feed from the patient, and then the patient will receive the doctor's video feed displayed on their view as well. And then you can see that the doctor's name has been displayed here, okay? And then the patient's name too has been displayed on the doctor view. All right. Now, to demonstrate the speech to sign language, right? So if the doctor says, and there's a button for the speech, that's when you are using it in Chrome. But the doctor types, "How are you doing?" and then sends it to the patient. You see, on the patient's view, a video will be showed of what the doctor typed, so that they know exactly what the doctor is saying in sign. So when I do to paint, yes, it's detected it.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, measures are underway as the government intends to scale up renewable energy penetration. This was revealed by the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, Dr. Kwekwe Friye, who was addressing the media towards the 27th Conference of Parties, that's the COP27, for the nation's Framework Convention on Climate Change in Egypt on the 7th to the 18th of November 2022. According to the sector minister, the move is to ensure Ghana achieves a sustainable energy transition.
Ghana intends to scale up renewable energy penetration by 10% by 2030 and replace light crude oil for electricity generation in thermal plants with natural gas. These targets indicate a high step change in how Ghana intends to manage its petroleum and energy sectors. Ghana would like to have a carefully planned energy transition and move to a place that allows us to achieve sustainable energy transition pathways as we monitor our climate commitments. 5. On mitigation ambitions. Ghana's 34 mitigation programs, when implemented, is envisaged to generate absolute green gas houses emission reductions of 64 metric tons of CO2 from 2021 to 2030. That's within a decade. This is very ambitious, looking at our national circumstances, but it is achievable. And this achievement is possible with increased and sustained finance from developed countries. The projection by the UNFCCC Secretariat already shows that the current efforts are not enough to meet 20 degrees Celsius target, and to even further reduce to, not to talk of even further reduce to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Or rather, it should be the other way around, 1.5 degrees, but not to talk of 2 degrees.
Well, Dr. Kwekwe Friye further urged African countries to unite in the fight against climate change.
My message to Africa is that we must support every effort for decisions to ensure in-country effective implementation of the Glasgow decisions adopted related to carbon market at COP26 to ensure countries can quick start participating in the carbon market, especially on guidance on cooperative approaches, that's under 6.2 Paris mechanism, and then also rules, modalities, and procedures for the 8.4 mechanisms, and also the work program for the framework for non-market-based approaches under the 6.8 framework.
Now let's talk about coffin. So they say we scare our buyers with our new prices. That's according to the Kumasi Coffin and Caskets producers. Coffin and casket manufacturers at Asafo in Kumasi are lamenting the high cost of raw industrial materials. The producers say they are frustrated over the high prices of significant materials like fillers, nails, pine, saw, amongst others. The extra expenditure in production is pushing the manufacturers to increase the prices of caskets to stay in business. Clinton Yeboah has more in this report.
Today's conversation features manufacturers of coffins. How has the economic changes affected their life?
With inflation rising high, coupled with fuel and utility tariff increases, local businesses stand on the death toll of the economic crisis. Ejapia, who has about 30 years of experience in the production of caskets and coffin, says he is compelled to increase prices of his products.
Na adwuma yenu no first and dey adwuma no enti se ne adwuma na ye ne de bla ye adwuma ne gu se no mane boy ye sia den no and then se sia me
I was an apprentice in 1992, but now I run my own business. The fabric we used to decorate the casket I bought for 200 cedis on Friday. I was told today to pay 240 Ghana cedis. I couldn't buy, so I had to come home to solicit the remaining. Things are expensive. I would also not sell them at a reduced price. All manufacturers here have come to a consensus to increase and stick to one price, latest by next week.
Medini crowd the other change 15 million, but say say no there oba man for am 28 million enya dia
Marvin Kwame, who has been in the business for 3 years, says patrons are complaining about the new prices.
Our work has become affected. I used to buy this flyer at 20 Ghana cedis. Currently, I buy it at 230 Ghana cedis. I used to finish 2 coffins a day. Buyers keep complaining because we scared them with the price. Starting next week, the price of coffins will increase.
Other producers like Akwisia Mwakoyeboa, who has been in the caskets manufacturing business for 25 years, says he's recording low patronage due to the new prices. He has called for the government's support and intervention, especially in their access to wood.
With a high increase in materials, we have also increased our goods and it's affecting patronage.
double 100%. Me wo ho ne ade na do so maye e bia na kokra wo bi nto but then no mo meto no kran so niska oba na usu but no na wo koto na emma nipa na oba beto no ohia se wo tene so but then no ma na wo se wo check ya first oba won ka 1 cedi a and then 2 cedi first oba won ka 10 million and I'm 20 million and two pompo se otubu ni emma nipa ya sa untimi ye.
Clinton Yeboah's report for Joy News.
We're getting ready for Adum Praise 2022, and it's happening at the Perez Dome here in Accra. And if you haven't purchased your ticket already, you can get it here at the front desk of Joy FM. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of Joy News Prime. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for your company. I am Emefa Apawu.